Good evening, everyone. It is February 11th, and this is the first Zoning and Land Use Committee meeting of 2025. So welcome. We have a couple of items on the agenda. I wanted to begin with one that is one of the more pleasant tasks that we deal with. It's Landmarks Preservation Committee submission. In November, we met and discussed our priorities for landmarking. And our top three were the FDNY Firehouse Engine 242, FDNY Firehouse Engine 284, and the High School of Telecommunication Arts and Technology. So we do have support, and we have letters of support, correct?
Oh, we have confirmation of support, and once we sent out ask for letters, yeah, of our elected officials.
Yes.
City council member Justin Brennan supports all three, and so we decided we're going to move forward.
Yes, and to submit the RFEs or the request for evaluations. So I just need a motion to do that, to submit to the Landmarks Preservation Committee 3 requests for evaluations for these 3 sites.
Steve, so moved.
Second.
I'll second. Oh,
I've got
You can have
it.
it.
Okay. Stephen Doris then. Okay.
And
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? I think that takes care of everyone. Ibrahim? Is
Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
got it. Thank
Thank you.
you. All right, so then none opposed and the motion passes. Thank you very much.
So there's nothing further for us to do at the moment, and all the stuff just goes to landmark
With these 3 sites.
with the 3
yes.
sites, okay.
Quick question, Stephanie.
Yes, of course.
Are we still scouting the neighborhood for hidden treasures of rows of?
Yes, so, okay, Josephine has put up the map that these sites, the ones that are identified in pink,
Mhm.
are all of the ones that were suggested for landmarking by Kelly Carroll.
Ah.
And then there's a very short list, maybe one at the bottom that was an additional suggestion. There, you'll notice 3 purple ones, and those are the 3 sites that we just agreed to send forward the RFEs on. The black line or the perimeter that I tried to draw around it is all of CB10. So you'll notice that most of these sites, actually almost all but one, are concentrated in Bay Ridge. So the issue, I think we discussed trying to carve out or carve up CB10 to areas that you would all be willing to scope out. I'm not quite sure what the best way to do that is. If you would like to, was this link sent out? We can send this link out to the committee. Would that work if we send this link out to you so that you can look at the map closely and decide which blocks you would like to review, or do you want me to carve that up? I don't want to discuss people's addresses online or.
I think it would be great if you carved it up.
Yes, you do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did take a bunch of pictures of rows that I've found, but I didn't send them to you yet.
Okay.
So I'm excited about this part.
Okay, and this evening we have, is it the full committee that's here then? We have,
Yes.
Okay, so then if everyone is willing, I'll just divide it among all members. And if that doesn't, if the suggested area doesn't please you, you can let me know. But
And we're doing Bay Ridge and Tiger.
yes, the
Yes.
whole
the whole
CB10.
community. Okay, good.
Yes. And if you have any other suggestions as to if you think better ways to approach this, please don't hesitate to email me. So we've been very busy, of course, between City of Yes holidays and now back to City of Yes. Are there any other questions about this particular topic, the landmarking, before we go forward?
It's a lovely project.
No. It's a good one. Yes, I agree.
We deserve a good one.
Yeah. So a few months back, we had also had a meeting about Louise Terrace, if you remember. And I Josephine may have already sent out email to everyone, but it was approved, recognized and it is on the National Register of Historic Places. So
Very
Wow.
exciting.
it's a,
Yay.
Nice.
so another good piece of news. Okay. So the main topic for the evening is City of Yes for housing opportunity and city council modifications. We have a slide presentation. So I've organized it. It's a set of 3 slides, 3 or 4 slides. The first slide will introduce or show you the responses that CB10 gave to city planning. This was in July. After our meetings and after the board vote, we submitted a list of concerns and recommendations for each of the categories included in City of Yes for housing opportunity. The slide that will follow are the new city council modifications to the original city planning proposal. So the city council modifications are in conjunction with the $5 billion package that was given to the city, and now it's all comprised in City for All. So, all right. And then the last slide of each set will be concerns, like continuing concerns and or questions. So after each, I'm going to stop and we can discuss what questions we have. The intent is to meet with city planning in the spring. We're waiting for some dates and to have our questions ready for them when they come to explain the modifications.
No, so yeah, city planning has agreed to come and give a
Okay.
presentation. On the City of Yes, there's been lots of questions, so
Yes.
we thought it best.
To meet with them directly?
Yes.
Okay.
Are they doing that for all community boards or just those who requested or?
If I don't know, but Stephanie and I, we were reviewing and asked if we could have,
Said okay.
and they said, okay, so.
Okay.
There are a lot of questions.
I'm sure
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
of boards
yeah.
will, because the Department of City Planning made modifications, the city council made a lot of modifications.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say Councilman Brennan's office reached out, shared with us a lot, during following, before and following the recommendation and the approval of the city council. And it's a lot, I mean, it's a big document, right?
It is,
And
it's a very big document. Yeah, that's not always clear.
So Stephanie, take it
Okay.
away.
All right, so, you want
Next
the
slide.
slides? Yes, please. All right, so the first topic is this town center zoning, and now this is what CB10 had requested, that buildings should be capped at no more than 3 stories above the commercial first floor. That was our request. This now is, on the right side, are the modifications that city council made. And the way they've listed it is they list the concern and then the modification. So the first one on the right side addresses affordability. That was one of the more universal concerns expressed, that there's no zoning incentive in low density areas to build affordable housing. And the modification basically mirrors that which is available now under the mandatory inclusionary housing, which is 20% affordability incentive of large projects can take advantage of the town center zoning, only if 20% is affordable at 80% area median income. And then the other concern that they addressed, that 1 and 2 family homes should be protected, even if they are in commercial areas. So they will not now allow town center developments in areas where commercial overlays are a single isolated block or on a block with a commercial overlay that today is developed with mostly 1 to 2 family homes. My question regarding this is, where's the threshold for change, or what happens when or if those 1 or 2 family homes are knocked down? At what point is greater development permitted?
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We're using the plural here. So if we're saying 1 and 2 family homes, 1 to 2 family homes, are they talking about developments, or are you talking about the isolated, like one home. I just want to understand what we're talking about.
That's a good question. My understanding is that if it was the way I read it, and you might disagree, that if there are 1 to 2 family homes on that block, then the development will be limited on that block with commercial overlay. Not just one home or 2 homes.
Right.
I mean, that's
1
how
to 2
families-
families, individual homes, that's
Yes.
how I read it.
But we can ask for clarification on that.
Yeah, because I just want to know where it starts and ends,
Yeah, we have a few blocks like that that have 1 and 2 family
Oh, yeah.
homes on the block with a commercial
Right,
overlay. Yeah.
there's a lot of that, yeah.
That's a
That's
great-
why I'm asking.
Okay, good
Okay.
question. We jotted it down.
So the next slide regarding this are the additional concerns. Oh, I'm sorry, this is transit-oriented development, different topic. Any other questions or comments about the town center zoning? No? Okay. All right. Moving on to transit-oriented development. In July, these were among the requests and comments that we made, that sections of Community District 10 eligible for transit-oriented development in this proposal are in fact locally referred to as transit deserts. Therefore, the definition must be changed to reflect the realistic transit infrastructure on a district-by-district basis. The committee thinks the transit zone radius should be reduced. We suggested, well, from a half mile
From a
to
half
something
mile.
that was
Realistic.
in walking distance. And then 1 to 2 family homes within the R1 through R4 districts should be exempted from this requirement. Some of this was addressed. Okay, thanks. Again, they put in the same affordability parameters, but the modifications, they have excluded all R1 and R2 single-family districts from the transit-oriented development eligibility. We do not have R1 in CB10, but we do have R2. They did not include any of the R3 and certainly not the R4. They went on to modify it further by saying they will reduce the transit-oriented development radius for outermost stations of the LIRR and Metro North within the city from a half mile to a quarter mile radius. That doesn't affect us either.
Hmm.
What did I?
Yeah, okay. So some of the concerns that have come up, community facilities. These are still subject to the transit-oriented development rules. So there is significant potential for development at these sites, and this may encourage developers to offer substantial sums to large community facilities, like houses of worship, or other institutions that have been in the community for a very long time. One of the concerns that we ended up discussing that I talked about with Josephine was the loss of community programs and certainly the potential for tear downs.
I think that's the biggest threat is tear down. Because people will just buy your properties and just tear them down, and then quickly the whole neighborhood will change. But to me, that's like the biggest threat. I don't know how
Certainly
you can,
raise
I
that.
don't know how you can stop that or put brakes on it. I don't know how to even do that.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Any thoughts or questions at this time? We can always come back to it. For TOD. Okay, so speaking of community facilities, the Visitation Monastery and Academy site. Okay, based on the language of the text amendment, the new text amendment, you'll see the writing in blue. It's the last sentence, the applicability of certain provisions within the special Bay Ridge district. The definition of qualifying residential site shall be modified to exclude zoning lots existing on, since the date of adoption of the text amendment, with a lot area that exceeds 5 acres, and visitation falls into this definition. So
Surprise.
Currently designated as an R31 district, which is also 1 and 2 family. So as you can see from the text language, the visitation site has been excluded from the new regulations. Any questions? No, okay. Going to the ADUs. This is a long one. Not mine. Okay. ADUs were probably among the most controversial of the proposals. Our request, and this is our commentary and our request in July, the DCP has not provided any documentation to the board as it relates to interagency study, review, analysis, or endorsement of this proposal. There was no information available as to the results of the New York City ADU pilot program, and the city planning. If you remember the illustrations that city planning offered us, their illustrations were not accurate depictions of CB10's environment, and it does not take into consideration. There's the whole list of concerns that we had. I think you're familiar with them. I don't want to have to go through each of them. But these came up over and over again. It is not clear if ADUs will be used for multi-generational families, for rentals, or even for home occupations. It is unclear if building codes, safety codes, fire codes, or occupancy levels would be enforced. It is a one-size-fits-all plan, and ADUs will be as of right. We recommended that ADUs require special permit or variance. And additionally, this component of the proposal had no ties to affordability. So city council response. So ground floor and basement ADUs, this among the concerns, are at risk of flooding in coastal and inland flood zones. So the modification is to prohibit ground floor ADUs, detached or attached extensions, and basement ADUs in both the coastal flood zone and in areas the city identifies as vulnerable to inland flooding from heavy rain. And also to prohibit detached and attached backyard ADUs on zoning lots within R1A, R2A, R3A zoning districts, unless they're in the greater transit zone, to prohibit these ADUs in historic districts. And ADUs can only be 1 story unless parking is provided on the first floor. And ADUs are prohibited in attached or row houses. And they are prohibited from covering more than 33% of a rear yard.
That was a really big concern that we talked about, was the attached housing as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yes,
City council was looking at this, for sure.
Yes. So this is a significant modification.
but when you say that, you're talking about the situation where you have common driveways that you're talking about too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Oh, and are there more modifications? The homeowner is required to live on the property in order to have an ADU. We're not sure how that will be enforced. I know the city in its City for All plan, and as it says it here in the modifications, they've developed initiatives to assist homeowners to create ADUs. So the text, in addition, no backyard ancillary dwelling units shall be permitted within the portion of the Special Bay Ridge District west of Ridge Boulevard and Marine Avenue. So that's
okay.
okay. So mostly because of flooding issues.
Mm.
Right. Continue.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
She's rolling on.
I'm rolling on.
Persistent concerns, the proposals, particularly with regard to the ADUs, do not conform to building code. Little bit of the tail wagging the dog. So building codes may actually prevent homeowners from creating ADUs or from making other changes that the new zoning rules may permit. And still, we have no guidance or public statements from DOB, DEP, and FDNY. I would like to raise that issue with city planning. Any questions regarding this category? Anything you'd like to address with city planning?
Just to say that the modifications that they're willing to make are almost inconsequential.
Okay. Do you want to expound on that?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretending to give something, but really it's just placating. And so I don't want to just whine. I just wanted to express that.
Understood. And we can certainly express that. Yeah.
Next.
Okay. Next, please. District fixes. This was a big one as well. Our response to city planning. In July, Community Board 10 believes that 1 and 2 family homes are integral to keeping the district stabilized. We wanted to maintain the mix of housing options in CB10, which would include 1 and 2 family homes, multifamily homes, etc. DCP has not provided a thorough citywide district by district analysis as to why this proposal is needed or what it seeks to accomplish. We wanted to remove this section from the proposal. This as of right proposal fails to take into consideration the impacts on neighboring properties based on the suggested parameters and lot lines. The committee thinks that the proposal incentivizes tear downs and creating and subdividing houses. Also, that by doing so, land values will increase, thereby making homes more expensive and less attainable. This proposal of this component also had no tie to affordability. And we raised the 2016 act of removing zoning resolution 73-622 because it illustrated the difficulties and problems associated with these suggested changes. The modifications. So one of the biggest concerns was too much reduction in the yard and open space requirements. So the modifications. One is to reduce permitted obstructions in rear yard from 50% down to 33%. And for lots less than 40 feet wide, the homeowner must maintain the required 30-foot rear yard for row houses and semi-detached homes. And they also will limit reductions to required side yards and adjust lot coverage rules to protect open space. Again, they will limit decreases in frontage and lot area requirements. And they addressed a concern here about removing the transition rule, which resulted in mismatched building forms where high density and low density areas meet. So the modification is to restore modified transition rules to provide appropriate step downs between large buildings and adjacent smaller scale buildings. I don't know that affects us here in CB10, but certainly all of the other modifications would have an impact.
Yeah, I think I will.
Any comment there? Any questions? Anything you'd like to address with city planning? Okay. The universal affordability preference component, we had said that 60% of the AMI is too high. Community District 10 already ranks as one of the most affordable places to live in New York. The median gross rent falls below city and borough averages. Therefore, our concern was that additional bulk will be provided to developers for market rate housing. The response from the city. In this case, the modification is to require 20% of UAP units and projects with at least 10,000 square feet of UAP floor area to be affordable for families earning 40% of the area median income, targeting incomes between 40,000 and 70,000. So this is a deeper affordability proposal than the other affordability modifications. And one of our other concerns that was raised is in some districts, the proposed height increase from UAP is significantly larger than 20%. So the modification is to reduce the maximum allowable height for UAP by 10 feet in the R8B and on narrow streets in R6 and R7-1. With affordable housing, although there is a demand for deeply affordable housing, it may not make sense financially to developers because rents would have to be very low. So it's possible, though, that with the City for All plan, with the $5 billion package that the city and state have provided, this may enable developers to proceed with affordable housing within the UAP constraints.
May I ask a question there? If I can go back just for a second?
Sure.
Then it's Steve speaking.
Uh-huh.
It's Steve speaking. You just talked about the affordability being between 40,000 and 70,000?
That is what the modification stipulates.
Is that a static number, or because 20 years from now that means nothing?
I mean, this
That's
is
a
a
good
question.
question.
Yep. So,
I mean, because I'm just looking at it right now, it could go either way, but the thing is that it shouldn't it be somehow or another indexed to something?
it's a good question. It's a very good question. Thank you. I mean, this is what I want so that we can raise this with city planning.
That's what I would want.
Okay. So I don't know if by suggesting 40% of the area median income, that would change over time. And maybe this is just a current.
From my perspective, I'm just raising the issue.
Right.
Because I can see the problem coming up. And I think that it should be addressed right now. How they index it or what they attach it to is a different issue.
Okay.
I just want to comment on that.
Sure.
If we look at the left-hand column, that column has the percentages. Perhaps the 40 to 70 is just their illustration of what those percentages mean today. I don't see any numbers on the left column.
No.
No, but I do think it should be clarified.
Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
Mhm. Okay. Any other questions regarding UAP? Okay. The parking mandates or the removal of parking mandates, our concerns. We thought there was no proper analysis provided in the environmental impact statement, and the proposal does not address impacts to the following: the loss of permeable surfaces in front yards, the lack of enforcement to currently protect provisions outlined in the streetscape text amendment. There are longstanding issues with illegal parking, and the transportation network is not sufficient. The removal of these parking mandates is not done in conjunction with a substantial increase in quantity and quality of public transportation options. So the city modifications have proposed creating 3 zones. I have a lot of questions about these, but the zone 1 would not have any parking requirements. And this would be in Manhattan, Long Island City, and parts of Western Queens and Brooklyn. Because these areas have good access to transit, lower commute times, and there are higher shares of commuters to Manhattan from these areas. And
No parking requirements.
I'm sorry?
No parking requirements whatsoever.
Not in zone 1 to include for residential parking.
Okay.
They're entirely eliminated.
So the intention, Steve speaking, is the intention there is to eliminate parking.
Yeah, in zone.
Well, yeah.
In zone.
Right. Okay.
So then in zone 2, it's not eliminated, it's reduced parking requirements. So they've defined the areas that have access to transit, but have longer commute times and greater reliance on cars. That's how they define zone 2. And the parking requirements in this case, there would be a significant reduction in multifamily residential parking requirements.
We would probably qualify as zone 2, wouldn't we? All of us?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
based on one of the maps, we've gotten different materials. It looks like we are in zone 2. We need to clarify that. And then zone 3 in this area is defined as areas beyond the other geographies with so it's the outer. And in this zone,
Staten Island.
yeah. It's true. Most parking requirements would be maintained. And in these areas, parking would likely be produced to meet the market demand anyway. So keep most parking requirements in zone 3. And then the last modification is eliminating mandates to maximize housing. To read this, the forms of housing development that parking would most interfere with will be largely exempt from mandates, regardless of zone. So ADUs, conversions, affordable housing, transit-oriented development, and town center development. In zone 3, affordable housing would have a reduced requirement, and town center developments over 75 units would have a standard requirement. So those are the exceptions to the rules. The next slide has what they call a cheat sheet. Still getting familiar with this, but this identifies the exempt components from the zone regulations. So you can see in zone 1, there's just absolutely no requirement for anything. And limited requirements in the other cases. Some of the things still not sure about, different sections of the text amendment contradict one another. Particularly with regard to affordable housing. And then still trying to figure out what's going on with 9,000 Shore Road. Do you want to speak to that?
So 9,000 Shore Road, there's Article 78, and there's been no activity there. So really no update.
Okay.
No.
No update.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you. All right. With small and shared housing, in our July response, the committee expressed opposition because no specifically identified small and shared housing can be built in our district. Small and shared housing units are similar to tenements and single room occupancy. And in the past within the district, there were significant problems with these SROs. Of course, we were also concerned with health, safety, and security, over occupancy, and no commitment to enforcing rules. The modifications, at least with small housing. So the dwelling unit factor, they had in the original proposal to 500 square feet, very small. So the modifications is to maintain the current dwelling unit factor regulations for the existing buildings, but for new buildings, and they specify Manhattan below 96th Street in downtown Brooklyn, they will eliminate the dwelling unit factor, but in all other areas, they will apply a standardized factor of 680 square feet. So that's for the small housing. For shared housing, the concern with shared housing regulations must prioritize housing quality, tenant rights and safety, and suitability of locations. And they just offer a note that enabling shared housing will require council legislation to amend the administrative code and establish rules and regulations. And this legislative process will occur after city yes, which only removes the zoning restriction. So once again, a little bit of the tail wagging the dog.
I'm not sure that
Right.
this is voted
Here,
in CB10, the shared housing.
but I know since we've responded to it, I just.
had a question on that.
Yes, please.
So it looks like they're eliminating the 500 square foot
Yes.
requirement. That's completely gone.
That's
right?
gone, right?
Okay.
The council raised that from five
Yeah.
hundred to six
That was
eighty.
tiny.
That was
Yes.
a
Wow,
concern.
that was very low.
Very small.
Yeah, yeah.
And then finally, authorization, and this included the railroad rights of way. The committee was concerned that this component was not tied to affordability and removes the special permit requirement. The special permit allowed further review of environmental issues, streetscape impacts, and affordability requirements. These types of developments involve large swaths of land with many environmental issues. We requested that the special permit requirement be maintained. So as it pertains to railroad rights of way, the modifications say for developments of railroad right of way, revert authorization to a special permit for lots larger than 1.5 acres. I don't know, would that apply to 8th Avenue? Like, can it revert?
Yeah, that's a good question. We could definitely ask them. I mean, there's activity now,
Mhm.
at 6200 8th Avenue in terms of, it's a 28-story building, so it's a large, development site. I don't know what the acreage is exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good question. Yeah.
Is anything happening there? What's happening there?
So they are moving forward with a development at a 28-story building. And I think they received permits for test pits there and foundation work.
Hmm.
And they were moving forward with the actual new building permit
And that was on 8th Avenue?
on 8th
And
Avenue,
where?
62nd
Oh,
Street.
62nd.
Okay.
Who is the owners now? They seem to change every 2 weeks.
I think the financing changed on that, but the owners is still Watermark Capital.
Mhm. Okay.
It's definitely-
Okay, we've covered all of the components of the proposal that affect CB10. Are there questions that you have for city planning? I mean, you can certainly think about this, but if anything jumps out at you now, love to hear it. No?
Yes, lots of modifications that were made, positive.
Mhm. There's still a lot to think
There's
about.
still a lot, again, still was it 1300 pages?
Yeah. And I think in some cases, it's not clear how Community Board 10 is affected. And maybe a more careful read of the text. These modifications, the way they're written, don't quote the text. So it does make a difference.
Just a question about the,
Can I, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Barbara, I think Barbara,
yes,
I hear you.
about an ADU, what about building a unit above a garage?
So one of the modifications said a second-story ADU is permitted as if there is parking underneath.
Oh,
So I understood that to be on top of a garage.
garage.
Yeah,
Is that
I
what you
agree. Yep.
understand?
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
That's a good-
But I still think that all of that has not yet been established by the Department of Buildings or the fire department. So as
Right.
far, right, this,
That was
we
our
separate the zoning from the actual building code and other safety requirements. So I think that there's a lot more,
Well, a lot more technical investigation
yes.
by the appropriate agencies.
Steve, you had started asking something?
Yeah, but it was silly, so I'm not going to continue.
We've been there, all of us.
Go on.
No, I'm finished.
Yeah, I would say if anyone has questions, when you read over that, I sent out a bunch of materials.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay,
We're
Yes.
gonna get city planning some dates in March,
Okay,
maybe into April.
that's good. That would be good. Sure, and if you come up with anything, please.
Is there anything that here is, published, like, I'm sorry, did I speak over somebody?
No, I think it's feedback. Go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering if there's, is there anything here to report in a major way, to the community?
To the community?
Yeah, I'm saying like we have a meeting every month, but I'm
Oh.
saying does anything that we see here, do you think it should be, or publicized in a greater way? I'm just asking if anybody has that feeling.
I do. I agree. I think it should be.
So if it comes from us, my only hesitation is that I don't feel like I have my brain wrapped around the implications of the modifications. This is public. The summary that you've looked at this evening, it was put out by the city council, and it's available to anyone, you know, in the community. I would want, this is me speaking, I would want to have more information from city planning and have some of our questions addressed first, because I don't know what other insight or nuances I can offer the public. I mean, if you disagree, okay.
No, what I'm thinking is I agree with everything you're saying, that it's all public and it's all published. But we get it sent to us and we have meetings like this. I'm just wondering if, after the size of that meeting that we had last year at Fort Hamilton, is it worthwhile putting something a little bit more out? I'm not even talking about advocating one way or the other, but I think that the community, like, we should probably need a little bit more information about this as to where it is now, the status of the changes.
We could certainly work on something, putting something together. After our meeting with city planning, they're gonna provide a deck for us,
Right.
I'm sure, and I know that, I mean, I could say for the council, the city council has put things out, our local city councilman, specific to the special Bay Ridge district, the carve out of the ADUs west of Ridge Boulevard, and the exemption to the also in the special Bay Ridge district of the visitation lot, the individual modifications to some of the larger ones that we spoke about, the transit oriented districts, the exemption of the R2. So maybe those are, areas that were major concerns that are pretty clear and straightforward. And then following with the questions, I would say after that city planning presentation, maybe putting something in the newsletter or the,
Yes.
we have a very large, newsletter, email list, and,
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
we have received, many calls to the district office, Stephanie, even at some of the past board meetings,
Yes.
people have come over to us and asked.
Yeah, I
Let-
just,
Just one question.
I mean, I'll give a summary, probably more succinct than what I gave you tonight, because it'd be easier for the residents and the community to understand how it's applicable, or what modifications are applicable to CB10. I don't think it's complete yet. I will offer what we have, but certainly we will have more after our meeting. I hope we do, after our meeting with city planning.
well, if I could just speak, if it's not complete yet, but giving it to the community after it's already complete is probably not the optimal time to let them know.
No, I agree. We have a community board meeting at the end of this month, so I will provide information as we go along. I'm just reminding you that what I will be providing will
Okay.
not be complete, but I will certainly provide it in my summary and my report. And
You always do.
Let me ask one question.
sure,
I read in one of these local papers that Brannan said he got a carve out for ADUs in our district. Is this accurate?
Yes. Yeah, it was in one of the slides, Barbara, so west of Ridge Boulevard,
Mhm.
the carve out for the backyard ADUs, yes, included within the Special Bay Ridge District west of Ridge Boulevard.
Okay.
Mhm. Any other questions regarding this? Okay, before we close tonight, I wanted to, actually, I'm looking for a volunteer. I don't know if you're familiar with the New York City Charter Revision. There was one charter revision committee that was convened in 2024. The mayor has convened another New York City Charter Revision Commission to address land use and Euler.
Ooh,
The city council has convened its own commission, or will be convening its own commission to address the same issues. I think the two may be at odds with one another, but the bottom line is that this should be followed. The mayor's commission is meeting today, this evening. Obviously it conflicted with this meeting, but the public hearings will be recorded and are available for viewing after this evening. And I don't know, there haven't been any other meetings prior to this evening. And the city council's commission has not convened yet, so they have not had a meeting, but it will require some attention. And I will do it. I will be looking at the information, but if I can have someone else assist, or any more than one person, that would be wonderful.
you mean to go to the meeting?
I'm sorry?
To actually go to the actual meeting?
You don't have to go. It's just the information that city council and the mayor's office will be updating regularly to listen to the public hearings. This will, because it affects zoning, I think it's critical that we take a look at it, or at least stay abreast of the information that's coming out and the changes that are being recommended. Because the community board can provide an opinion or input. Yep, so if we're able to do that, we need to learn what's happening first and to offer our feedback and input.
I can help. If
Okay,
you're
okay.
looking for somebody to assist you,
Yes.
do, okay, good.
have a
Okay,
second
good. If
person
you have a second person. that would
Review
be-
the material
Yeah,
and
okay.
discuss. Okay,
I can do that.
all right, I've got one willing volunteer. Thank you for your help. Okay, is there anything else?
I feel like I lost something. Oh, did you want to speak about Thursday?
Thursday. Oh, where am I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The city is offering a free workshop for community board members, and I volunteered to attend an all-day workshop at St. Francis College on development. I was put on a team to address development in a fictional area called Elmwood. And I was assigned the role of financial analyst. We all get to play a role, and essentially we are being asked to weigh multiple considerations for development of to revitalize a particular area of this fictional town. And I'm quite interested to see how it will play out, because it requires looking at everyone's objectives to include the city's need for tax revenue, the developer's need for return on investment. We were told that it needs to be over 13%, the return on investment.
Wow.
Actually, I have.
Aggressive.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see how this works out. There are pages and pages of information. They've given us a request for proposals. I am required to familiarize myself with a program that allows me to maneuver Lego blocks into building areas and to come up with a plan for the city that balances out deeply affordable housing, luxury condos, mid-rate housing, shopping centers, open space, parks, what else? Green initiatives to be incorporated, whether or not we can provide a homeless shelter. And if you don't provide a homeless shelter, you have to pay the city $1 million. So there are quite this is all fictional, right? So
It's all fictional.
just to be clear, this is fictional, but it is a workshop that the city is offering, and I hope to gain some greater insight on how the city balances its needs with those of the objectives of developers, and bring that information back to the committee. I hope it will enlighten my perspective. That's my Thursday.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Have a good day.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, I think, we can have a-
I have one comment, and there's nothing, it has to do with our original discussion of landmarking.
Mhm.
Somewhere in the recesses of my basement, I have a picture of Bay Ridge High School from either 1918 or 1919.
Oh, wow.
Would that be helpful?
That
It
would
wouldn't hurt.
Very helpful.
That would
Also
be
to
great.
include in our RFE, how.
Okay, I will
Work
look.
it out either, Doris, but if you know, the board meeting's the end of the month, so the letter probably will go out the first week in March.
Okay.
Doris, how did you get this?
Yeah, were you there at the time? I apologize.
Some days I feel like it.
Oh, thank you, Doris, that would be
My
helpful.
mother and my aunt went there. One left when she was 14 because she had to go to work to support the family. And my mother was there till she was 17, so she was there till like 1931.
Wow.
Great. Thank you, Doris. That would be wonderful.
And there might be a diploma, but I have no idea where it might be.
But you know where the photo is.
I know where the photo is.
Okay. Perfect. Thank
Great
you.
stuff.
Great.
Really
So-
good stuff.
If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes, you do.
Okay, motion passes.
Night
Everyone,
all.
good evening and a great
Thank
week.
you, Stephanie.
Your efforts, Stephanie.
Thank you, Josephine.
Thank
What
you.
a